Hey there. A few days ago, I made a perspective where I had made some comments about a little sheet of paper that I had jotted some notes down on. And I had read the first line, but I didn't really say much about it. And the first line on this paper says, the supernatural plan or a supernatural plan doesn't make sense. Anything that's out of this temporal, this physical realm that we live in, if it's outside that, then it's what you call the supernatural. It's of the spirit realm. And so it would only make sense that it wouldn't make sense to us. The Bible actually says that God's ways, they're above our ways, and his thoughts are above them. Another place he said he's able to do more than we're able to think or ask. We can't even imagine answers sometimes, or things or plans that God may have going on. Can you think of some things that at the time it just didn't make sense? But later on, you're like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. I definitely didn't think we were going here. Then all of a sudden you find yourself somewhere looking back and saying, well, I didn't ask for that. I didn't even think of that. And that's the hardest part of trusting God, or having faith in something you haven't seen yet. And that to have faith in something you've not seen yet just took trust. At some point, you've had to build some kind of trust with him to not just lose your mind and just decide that God is somehow just messing with me. Our pastor said yesterday that, sometimes you feel like God's just messing with you. Have you ever felt like that? It's like, seriously, you're just messing with me here. But the right underneath this line, there was something else I had jotted that I didn't even see the other day. In parentheses, underneath the supernatural plan doesn't make sense, I said, God wants to do something big with a handful. Well, apparently whoever I was listening to the day I jotted these notes down was probably talking about the story in the Old Testament about the widow that was alive during a famine, and she had a child, and she was down to her last bit of food. She had a little bit of oil and a little bit of meal, and she was going to make a cake out of that, or something to eat, and that was going to be their last meal. And if you know the story, how the prophet had come along and he had said, give me that, to feed me first, which seemed really odd and weird. Definitely doesn't seem like what God would say, or a man of God would say, feed me instead of feeding yourself. But there was something bigger. There was a supernatural plan that didn't make sense going on there. And she did it. She was obedient. And out of that obedience, something strange happened that it didn't make sense. And that was her oil never ran out. And her barrel that had the little handful of meal left, it never left. It just kept filling. Every time she'd take it out, there was more. And so she was able to feed herself, her son, and probably anybody else. Maybe she was able to sell some of it, but she was able to live through this drought with something that didn't make sense. But it took her trusting God and trusting the person that God had put in her life at that time to be obedient. And through that, something that didn't make sense became just a story that we can talk about today. Whether it was an analogy, whatever you think about the Old Testament, it is a true statement. It's true, and it backs up. And my own life has backed up that there was things that just didn't make sense at the time and just actually felt like God was messing with me. It just didn't seem fair, didn't make sense. But God wanted to do something big with a handful, just something little that turned into something big. And it's you don't really want to ever get down to that's all you have. A lot of people want miracles, but I don't want to live a life of miracles, because that means you got down to a place in your life that's all you had. You had to have something supernatural. I don't want to live like that. I want to live where I'm walking in faith in his provision every day. But I do know there will be those times that I'm going to have a miracle. And if I'm needing a miracle, it's because I'm in a situation that's impossible. You only get miracles out of impossible situations. If not, the doctor gets some credit. The medicine gets some credit. until they say there's no hope. Here, we're putting you on hospice. You're going home. There is nothing else we can do. And then if things turned around, then you say, well, that was a miracle. If there is no money, there is no money. There is no food. There is nothing. This is it. And God turns it around, then it's a miracle. And there are those times that we will go through those times to be able to build our faith. To say, no, I can look back. I can look back when I was watching my house burn in the night. I can look back when the doctors showed me the x-rays of my baby girl's lungs and said it looks like Swiss cheese. And the lungs kept collapsing. I can look back on times that there was nothing else that could be done but God. Supernatural plan don't make sense. Sometimes he wants to do something with just a handful, because it's in those times only he gets the credit. If I make it through this right now where I'm at without losing my sanity, no, but I am. Because why wouldn't I? He's not going to leave me now. I'm trusting he's not going to leave me. Life doesn't make sense right now. How he could let some things happen, what I'm seeing happen with Gary. But I have to trust that even these videos that's coming out of this, I'm helping somebody. I'm encouraging somebody, because this ain't my first rodeo. I've been walking with God a long time, but there's some people that don't have a lot of experiences under their belt. They're still trying to wondering if he's really there. They don't have a lot of experiences to look back on. But you can listen to somebody else that says, hey, come on, you can make it. There's a God, and he will let you have your own experiences. You can't rely all on mine, but you'll get your own. And he'll carry you through too. So I hope it's encouragement to you today. Maybe he's fixing to do something with just a little handful of whatever you got left.